RPG Sambo Intel Classic.
And the game has begun. There's no going back now. They've practiced hard for this, but are they ready for these new maps? Have they had the experience that it's going to take to come out first in this group? I don't know. Here we see that Stork is over here at the bottom right, and this would make Mind at the bottom left. So, on a map like Othello, we could see that, I don't know. I'm curious if we're going to see a push mid-game towards Stork's expansion. This has got a lot of interesting geography on it, a lot of back doors for Protoss to kind of run around if Terran starts to push too hard in one direction. So it's very hard to completely and totally cut off circulation for any one player. Now, they're both aware of that, so what I'm really waiting for is how exactly they're going to treat the map itself. I don't believe we have any one-on-one maps in this tournament, so we may not be seeing any proxy strategies from either players. Now, here we can see the Mind going for that early depot next to the command center. He'll probably put his barracks next to the command center and depot so that he can squeeze a Marine in between them where a Zealot cannot reach. Not a bad idea. One other benefit for something like this is that because it is so close to the command center, the SCV can get back to mining minerals pretty quickly, which is very advantageous. And here we're getting a quick shot of the event. There goes Mind's barracks and now the refinery. Getting the barracks a little bit later is something a lot of smart Terran players have started doing now, realizing that they don't really need to get the barracks out right when they have the money for it. Instead, they can wait and make that extra SCV. Note, note the position of that pylon there actually allows the probe to mine faster at that mineral patch closest to the left. The pathfinding in StarCraft can be a little bit buggy since this game is so old. And because of that, a lot of times players will put buildings in very specific locations to force the probes or drones or SCVs to mine in a more straight line. Fun fact. Mind is sending out his scouting SCV at a very appropriate time. This is pretty typical. See, look, even old people like StarCraft. Everybody likes StarCraft. Isn't that great? Now, I think, now we see that the SCV and the Zealot have crossed paths, so the position of the barracks in Mind's main, actually it's not positioned hugging the command center, so he's going to have to micro that Marine pretty carefully. I'm a little bit surprised. I wondered if he just put it down there by accident and then has not bothered to move it because he knows he needs to get the Marine out in time. So instead his response is going to be to bring the 3 SCVs to the ramp and a little bit of back and forth micro. Stork wants to keep those SCVs forced at his opponent's ramp for as long as possible. Now he's actually managed to break in. Is he going to be able to do enough damage? I'm not sure. It looks like Mind's microing the Marines pretty well, getting them away from the... Oh, maybe not. Now he's going to have to control himself very carefully. Now this Marine's going to go down, and the other one could be taken out very easily. He's going to have to pull the Zealot out and now go for the other Marine. Mind pulling SCVs off of the minerals, losing valuable time in mining, and now another Zealot's already come in here. It's really too bad that he did not put that barracks over next to the command center. He could have handled this a lot. Well, I mean, let's be realistic. It would have been a lot easier to hold this stuff off. Now we have SCVs that are not mining minerals. Looks like, all right, now it looks like a nice trap there, but not good enough as the Marine is still wreaking havoc in his opponent's base. Now moving in here, it looks like another Marine's going to go down. No! Now, because of this, he will not have a lot of Marines, so getting another expansion up early will be difficult. Wow, look at that. He almost took out his opponent's pylon with an SCV. Stork is a little bit distracted there for a while. Now the Marine is continuing to move to the base. I'm curious if it's going to be a Vulture Bike or a tank coming out of the factory. Meanwhile, the scouting SCV has been picked off. Robotics facility is now going up. It would be wise for him to take out SCVs rather than any other units, and it looks like he will instead run around to the back. Okay, he just gave up. He did a good job back there. expects to secure this expansion, which he was now making a command center for. Robo-Bay could be an indicator that we might see Shuttle with some Zealots and Dragoons rush in here and try to take out this expansion, or it could mean Reaver drop, or it could just mean Observers into an expansion. So there's really a lot of options on Stork's table. Mind is in a bit of a defensive position. Note, Mind is now pushing out a little bit farther than you would expect, but he's doing that because he wants to pick off the spotter probe, which Stork will obviously have there, waiting to see if anything's going to leave the base. That's what good players do in idle moments like this. Make sure they can take out all the spotter units to ruin their opponent's intelligence. Now Stork will either have to pull off another probe or wait for Observers before he has a better idea of exactly what's going on. I presume that's siege mode over researching. Now, I think Stork spotted the other spotter, so now he might move out there. No, in fact, he will not. So, standard build, actually, for Stork. Stork seems to be pretty comfortable with a macro game. The fast exit, and then gets 2 more gateways, and then just pumps Dragoons for a little bit. And in fact, I would say that Mind's build is actually very standard too. So it seems like neither player wants to do anything radical yet, wants to do anything that is too far from the norm, especially in a map like this, perhaps testing the map's limits with normal by-the-book builds, rather than doing anything completely radical. I'm a bit curious to see how Flash is going to play on this map, since everybody is probably caught on to the fact that Flash has been using one build and beating people over and over with it. The fast armory, a very, very difficult build to pull off. And he seems to be the only one who can do it with such effectiveness. So the Observers now coming in and taking a peek at exactly what Mind is planning on doing. And he sees the upgrades are going on and no extra add-on. So if we see Mind throw up a few more factories, we may see a faster than expected push coming from Mind. Now he will be going for the Reaver. This is pretty typical too. Actually not typical at all for standard StarCraft players, but for the pro players, good Protosses nowadays almost always incorporate some form of harassment or confusion into their builds by today's standards, because Terran macro is just so good. Or at least these kind of Terrans. So he's going to get this Reaver and hope that Mind is not going to make that many turrets. If Mind does make enough turrets to defend it, then Mind has, in a sense, wasted too many minerals on defenses, and then this expansion will be very secure. So 2 more gateways being thrown up. I'm actually impressed that Stork is expanding in a spot that is very, very pushable by Mind. Of all the possible spots he could expand to, granted that is a spot that's probably pretty comfortable to expand to as Protoss. It's very close to your natural expo. It's one of these spots that it can be pushed so quickly that you could lose it before you even know what happened. Here we see the probes now mining at this expansion, which is about to finish any second now. In fact, you can hear it finishing just now. That's how good Stork's timing is. Vultures moving around the map. They want to see if anything at all is out there. Any probes, any idle units, but more importantly, any extra expansions. And in fact, if he does this right, he could actually pick off the producing SCV with that Reaver, but I don't think he's going to risk it. One thing about getting a Reaver at this point in time in the game is that it's very, very dangerous if you lose the Reaver. I mean, it's always dangerous if you lose the Reaver. You're always in hot water. But even more so because this Reaver can not only harass, but help delay the push. Especially because Zealot Lake should be coming out later, with that Citadel coming up so much later. Sniping at a probe and backing off. It looks like he is not going to be doing any real Reaver harassment.